Hello, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride. Today we're looking at a submission by Janice Dawson. She doesn't tell me much about this horse. I'm not sure of his age or anything, but he certainly seems to be stretching very well on this lunge line right now. Looks really good. I'd like him to be just a little bit more active and keep him swinging a little more actively and try to get his hindquarters to move out away from you a little bit. He's tending to go a little bit with his shoulders to the outside of the circle, which you could see there clearly as he came around that corner there. So just try to get his hindquarters a little more away from you so that both ends of the horse are on the same circle, a little more activity, and just get him to stretch and stay there consistently, which will help you. So every time you lose it, think of pushing those hindquarters to the outside a little bit, which will engage his inside hind leg and usually get the horse to work a little harder over its back. But this is really good. Once again, it could be a little more active there, just a tiny bit more. Like another notch faster, just a little bit. So he's right there is really starting to be pretty good. Then he slows down you. Once again, he looks to the right. So, and you did the right thing there as you took contact. So this is all coming very, very nicely. Once again, could just be a little more active and a little more consistent, but it's very good. Now we're going to move on to the riding work. I would have liked to have seen the horse get a lot more consistent on that lunge line work, and we see the result here is that when he gets to the mounted work, he's quite slow and hollow. This walk is not too bad here, but as you see, it looks like he's pulling his feet kind of out of glue there a little bit behind. So we'd like to get this walk much more swinging and active. But the big thing that I have seen here, obviously I've watched the entire clip, and he never really gets to a very good place here in the mounted work. You start to trot him before he ever gets round really in the walk or active enough. And then once he does, he just kind of stays fairly flat, though he's fairly active in the trot work, but certainly doesn't stretch and get over his back the way we'd like him to do. So the biggest thing I would like to say to you here is I think you need to go on with the lunging work, but go and watch the video on contact and developing contact on the lunge line, getting him lunging in a bridle with some side reins. So he begins to develop contact so that when you get on, this is much easier. So once again, my cardinal rule is that if I can't get a horse to stretch in the walk, it's basically not ready to go into the trot. So after seeing this, I would go back to the work on the lunge line. Once again, using side reins correctly. Look at the video that we've done on that, how to keep him active and develop some consistent contact so he's a little softer in the mouth. So once you come to the riding work, you'll be able to get him more easily over his back. Now, I do like the fact that, you're not interfering here and you're not trying to pull his head down, and at least you are getting him active. His trot's pretty active here, and that's easier to do in the trot for most people. It takes a lot of skill to ride the walk. A lot of people don't realize that the walk is actually the hardest gait to ride, because it doesn't have a lot of that sort of natural impulsion, so to speak, of the desire to go, because it can be so slow. So it can be the most difficult gait to ride. So I'd like to go back to that and get you stretching and much more consistent in the walk before you go into the trot work. Once again, this trot is not bad. He's not working over his back, but he's coming under himself pretty consistently here. You'll see that when he slows down, like coming around this corner, he kind of loses his hindquarters a little bit right there, and kind of drops them out behind. Once you're on a straight line, though, you get him moving again, and that's better. But, once again, I want to see you go back to this basic work on the lunge line and complete a little more of that before you ride. That is getting him to accept the contact with the bit. And we can see here his mouth, he doesn't have a nice foamy mouth, which tells me he hasn't really connected with the bridle yet and soften to it. So I'd like to see you go back to that and get the lunging work corrected, get him stretching into the contact with the bridle now that you have him lunging nicely and stretching, so that he gets a little more used to what the bridle is supposed to do, so he'll soften for you a little more easily. This is Will Faerber from Art to Ride. Thank you for sending in this submission. I'd like to see you go back to the trot work on the lunge line and improve that, and then send in another tape. Thank you.